What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Driversedition, and today I'm here to talk to you about another option to replace Zeus. And many people want to know, why am I so heavily looking at the Mercedes AMG GT? Honestly, it's not the Mercedes AMG GT that I'm looking at. It's actually the AMG GT C. And the reason why I say the C, or I'm choosing the C version, is because it's the more performance capable version of the vehicle lineup that isn't specifically built around racing like the AMG GTR. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, right now the AMG GTR is kind of out my price range, but at the same point in time, I don't think chasing that car is hard for me to do. But what I start to realize the more and more I research on the AMG GTR is that a lot of the creature comforts I like, or should I say the features, because I am big on features, aren't that affordable. So let's talk about why I'm considering the AMG GT C as a replacement for Zeus. Okay, so if you don't know by now, I am looking to move Zeus, my Corvette C8. And yes, it is a 2020 Corvette C8, which is Zeus Bronze. I have had him for the last going on 5 years, and it's just time to get away from him. I released a video before talking about why I have to move on from Zeus. If you want to know more specifics about it, go ahead and watch that video. But today I'm going to sit here and tell you why I'm looking at the Mercedes-Benz AMG T series. Technically, like I said before, not the series, but the AMG GTC. And what I can tell you about the Mercedes AMG GTC is it actually reminds me a lot of the C7 Corvette and the Dodge Viper. Now, many people will sit there and say the AMG GT heritage is brought over from when Daimler Chrysler was a part of the Mercedes brand, or should I say ownership, and that's why it resembles a Viper so much. But honestly, there's a lot of truth to that. But the reason why it reminds me so much of the C7 Corvette is because the long front hood and the way, or should I say, I just always called it the Mercedes Corvette, because I felt like with the performance numbers, it was targeted more around Corvette owners, especially when I owned my C7, and I was looking for more, I guess you can say, luxury. And because of that, a lot of people that kind of guided that way towards the Mercedes lineup went for the Mercedes AMG GT as it got older, because it was a nicer, more luxurious version of a similar car with luxury that reminded you of the Chevy Corvette, at least the C7 models. That's my opinion. You can't change it. But in the end, as I look to get away from Zeus, which when I first got Zeus, the Mercedes AMG GT was a car I was considering, but I felt like the performance lacked. So as I got more into understanding the AMG brand up under Mercedes, and the fact that the AMG GT was actually a performance car built by Mercedes, and they pretty much took the restraints off the AMG department, it made me want the Mercedes AMG GT even more, or should I say a more performance version of it. Now, the AMG GTS to me did not have enough performance. Plus, I like the option to consider a convertible. But honestly, the more I look at it, I think I lean more towards the hardtop than I do the convertible, which is actually harder to find than it is a convertible. Go figure. But at the end of the day, I think I really start to gravitate towards convertibles more because of the blind spots inside the coupe. Now, I struggle with this because I literally picked a coupe and a convertible I fell in love with, and I went back and forth so much that one of them sold. But we're not going to get into that now because that's not the reason for this video. But what I will sit there and say to you is that when you look at this car, the reason why I chose the C, like I mentioned before, is because the GTR technically only has from the factory more horsepower, but honestly, it's more track focused. And because of that, they removed a lot of the luxury compartments or components you get in the car and swap it out with more lightweight ability and more track focus. So yes, you may get bigger brakes, but you lose some of the speakers on the sound system. You lose some of the features in the car. And I say that to you because whereas with the Mercedes AMG GTC, cool seats are kind of standard. You can't get a cool seat option in the GTR, which to me is kind of funny, at least not the first couple versions of a GTR. But it's funny because they really went so focused on dropping weight. And I think it only came out to maybe 100+ pounds, but the extra performance. But anybody who knows the Mercedes AMG GT lineup knows that the AMG GTC is nothing but a more luxurious performance car, missing some of the track focus elements that the GTR brings to the table. And for me, that sounds like a win-win because I like luxury, I like the look, and I like performance, and it actually does have more performance than my Corvette C8. Now, that's where the argument's going to come in, or should I say why this car intrigues me so much. And the reason why it intrigues me is because in actuality, the Corvette C8 may be a better performing car. So the reason I say the Corvette C8 may be a better performing car because the Corvette has went to a mid-engine layout, and you know that already. This is nothing new. The base C8, which I have, has 495 horsepower because I have the performance exhaust add-on. Now, mind you, the Mercedes AMG GTC comes with 550 horsepower. It actually comes with a little bit more torque than the actual Corvette C8. But at the same time, when you look at 0 to 60 times in comparison, the Corvette C8 does it in 2.9 seconds, whereas the AMG GTC does it in 3.3. So the C8 is faster. When you look at 0 to 60, 0 to 100, the Corvette C8, yes, the base C8 has better times. It actually does the quarter mile in 0.2 seconds. But where the balance comes out, and I know you've heard me preach this before in E-Ray and C8 Z06 comparison videos, is that once the two cars are moving, you start to see where the extra horsepower and the AMG GTC actually outperforms the Corvette C8. Now, what sparked my interest in the AMG GTC is because I was actually on the highway, let's just say rolling somewhere around 80 miles an hour. And an owner of an AMG GTC pulled up on the side of me. He looked at me, nodded, and he stepped on the gas, and I stepped on the gas, and he slowly pulled away from me. When the cars are rolling, I have experienced this multiple times. The AMG GTC does accelerate faster, and it slowly starts to put a gap between the Corvette C8, the base model. Now, today, in today's market, you can get a used AMG GTC right around $80,000 to $95,000, which is, to me, is still in base C8 3LT range, actually a little bit cheaper considering the 2026 models are out. But for me, I don't need the 2026 model AMG GTC, which actually doesn't really exist, but I don't need that to feel up to date. What I'm looking for is a more luxurious blend, which when you step foot inside the Mercedes AMG GTC or even the base Mercedes AMG GT, what you start to realize that there is a difference between Mercedes leather and the Corvette leather. When you look at higher, shall I say, step up and upgraded interior, the Mercedes car comes with Mercedes luxury. You get the quilted seats, you get two-tone color seats, you even get race sport seats, which all have a unique and more tasteful, should I say, high quality taste, blend, and look. Whereas when you stay inside the Corvette lineup, the seats get better in a 3LT, but the quality of the leather is still not the same. Really, there's no comparison. In essence, the Corvette C8, which is a true GT, just doesn't GT better than the Mercedes AMG GT, in my opinion. And the C is where, should I say, the step or the gap really starts to show. Now, for many people, they will never grasp this understanding because they're going to say that I'm stepping into a more expensive car. When it breaks, it's going to be more tremendous. And I'll be honest with you, with all my research I've done thus far, the Mercedes AMG GT, to me, the interior rise is more engaging than the C8 platform. That's just my opinion, especially when you step into a 2020 version of this car. But at the same point in time, the Corvette C8 is more appealing on the outside because it does have that mid-engine design, which is very eye-catching, and a lot of sharp edges, curves, and so forth that makes you feel like you have a true supercar. But the Mercedes AMG GT is one of those cars that, although you don't get that mid-engine layout in the traditional stance where the mid-engine is on the rear axle or back there, it actually still is a mid-engine car because of the placement of the motor from the front axle to the rear axle. So you still have the same mid-engine layout. And this car truly is a performing car. Now, because I've been out with so many AMG GT owners on drives, trips, even rallies, I think until you actually experience it firsthand or see it perform, you really would never, if you're a true Corvette lover, understand why this switch seems like the right thing for me to do. And I think out of all the cars I looked at and considered, this probably makes the most logical sense when it comes to comparison ownership between the two cars. Because when you look at aftermarket warranties for the Mercedes AMG GT, although many people expect the warranties to be high, you can actually find warranties in the $3,000 range or $4,000 range for an additional 4 years, 50,000 miles worth of coverage on the vehicle. And to me, that's a good peace of mind, especially for most owners. But also the Mercedes AMG GT is also one of the more, as we would say, reliable performance cars, supercars on the market. So when reliability matters to you most, besides Corvette having the historical reliability factor, the Mercedes AMG GT comes with it as well. It has Mercedes reliability. You also get what Corvette offers to a lot of its owners is you get updated technology and you get updated tech in a high performance car. So that's another reason why I think considering the Mercedes AMG GT, the C in my case, is a good fit. And then when you look at insurance values, now this is kind of where the separation goes away, but for each person it's their own. To insure my Corvette C8 with full coverage insurance, as they say, you're talking about $878. At least that's what I pay for full coverage insurance. When you shift over to the Mercedes AMG GT, the insurance quote for that car was just under $1,200. So although there's a slight increase in what it would cost for me to insure it or add it to my insurance plan, it's still, compared to a lot of the other cars I was looking at, the cheapest option to insure. So at the end of the day, when I look at everything around this car, it just makes a lot of logical sense. Or should I say, it seems like the most seamless and smoothest transition when it comes to transferring from one car to the next. In my opinion, that the Mercedes AMG GT is a hard car not to consider. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Now, I will sit there and say this to you. I've gotten behind the wheels of many versions of the Mercedes AMG GT platform. To me, the S just didn't perform good enough. The C really gave me all the thrill seeking I was looking for. And I'll be honest with you, the fact that you can sling the back end around a little bit, the nose fades away after some point, because I'm not going to lie to you, when I first got behind the wheel, it was kind of intimidating. But after maybe 2 or 3 minutes, it just faded away and the length didn't seem as long anymore. When I hopped onto the highway to test a little bit of the performance, the way the car pulls, the way it felt with the top down, the air just coming in, and the sound system was very similar. I'm not going to say it's great, but it was very similar, very competitive to what you have inside the Corvette C8 with less speakers. So ultimately, I feel like when it comes to everything I like about ownership of a vehicle, ownership of my Corvette, the Mercedes gives me the best, or should I say the closest to what I'm already familiar with and what I have. And the driving differences or the driving appeal is slightly different. So I think at this time, it's just time to play with another vehicle. And although there aren't many as upgrade or performance options out there or ways to change the unique look of this car, it probably has the most to any other vehicle I was looking to acquire compared to my Corvette C8. And you know I have to customize it. I have to make it unique and fit to me. And for that purpose too, the two-tone interiors they offer, the upgraded interior, the upgraded leather, there is so much you can get from the Mercedes AMG GT to make this car unique and custom and more to your flavor, which also has been pulling me in. But again, all that falls second to the performance factor I've actually experienced personally. I've driven one AMG GTR, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a rough, brutal ride, but it was also fun. And the closest thing I got to that inside the rest of the lineup was the Mercedes AMG GTC. And minus having the adjustment of the traction control, this car truly performs and made me feel like it was the next best thing to own. And since it brought luxury to the table, that's why I have to consider it not once, not twice, but every time when I look for a viable option to move away from my Corvette C8. And that's why I made the list. ICNV Driver Edition. Go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driver Edition community. We are an interactive community, which means if you hit me up on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I'll do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up is interesting enough, I may even shoot a video on it. But I want you to also join the channel and sharing this journey with me so you can give me your ideas, inputs, and thoughts about the ownership of vehicles that I actually bring onto the channel and what you would like to see as far as content comes along. That's just what I do. But don't forget, we're also made in his image and given dominion over the world, which means we weren't just meant to be. So chase your dreams, build your visions, never ever give up, and embrace your own identity. It is okay to be unique. He's not done with you, and he's definitely not done with me. We were all given unique gifts to help us become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. So step into your calling and be the blessing to the world that you were meant to be. Just remember to stay humble, stay focused, and stay blessed. And I'll see you in these streets. Peace.